So far too often, I hear the same types of arguments, the same types of stereotypes made against the PC master race, the PC master race. And I want to make this video because I want to explain what these stereotypes are, and I want to clarify what they are, why they exist, and I want to clear the air, and make sure that you have a better understanding of these stereotypes and why they're wrong. And it's gonna be a doozy. I have like a bullet point of the most common stereotypes that I've managed to gather from like watching a bunch of videos. There's probably more out there, but these are the ones that I found personally. So let's just go through them one by one. So the first argument that I hear far too often is that consoles have more exclusives than PC, which is not true. You know, the Xbox One and the PS4 both got rid of their backwards compatibility, but PlayStation managed to soften the blow, as it were, by adding a service called PS Now, which allows you to play games from older generations on the PlayStation 4. However, this is also a service that the PC can play. They have access to PS Now as well. And moreover, the PC, they have access to games from years and years back. You know, we have like Age of Empires and Civilization and stuff like that from way back when, Warcraft, Diablo 1. And another thing that I hear with this is that, you know, because the game is old or because the game doesn't look good, it doesn't play good, that these games don't count, which is also not entirely true because, you know, whether the game is good or not, or whether the game is old, is completely irrelevant. The fact that we can play them at all just goes to show you that we have access to, you know, a broad range of games, a vast library of games that consoles just don't have. The second argument that I hear really often is that PCs cost more than consoles. This one's a bit of a slippery slope because there is some truth to it, but a lot of it isn't really clearly explained well. So when people say PCs cost more than consoles, they usually mean that the upfront cost, which is the bulk of the investment for your rig, tend to cost more than buying an actual console. But here's the kicker: you can choose to buy a budget PC, which is around the same price, if not cheaper than the PC. Although you're taking a bit of a performance hit because you're opting for budget, you're opting for less expensive parts. But here's the thing: technology grows very very fast, and with that, new cards come out, new CPUs come out, RAM, hard drive, such and such, and because that happens, prices for older technology tends to fall down fairly quickly. So you often see sales. So you find yourself, at a certain point where you can buy a reasonably priced PC, somewhere along the same price range as the consoles, but you could still get a better performance than you would on a console because technology is it's growing so fast. The cards that would be better than consoles, their prices drop just as fast as well. I'm still on a GTX 780. That's a 3-4 year card, and I'm able to play Battlefield 4 1080p 60 frames, right? And I couldn't even do that on my PS4 when I got it. The third argument that I hear is that PCs are complex to build or maintain or operate, and this argument bugs me a lot because this implies that console gamers are incapable of operating, building, or maintaining a computer. It implies that they're stupid, and I don't think that way at all. I think console players are very much capable of going to Amazon or Newegg or wherever you want to buy a PC part. You buy it, have it sent to your home, build a PC, operate, maintain. I think they're very capable of doing this. And by saying that they're too complex to build or maintain, it really shoots yourself in the foot because you make it sound like console gamers are dumb. And I obviously don't think that way. I think you're very much capable of gaming on a PC just like anyone else. It's not difficult at all. When I built my first PC and my mom was there, she was really interested. She was like really stoked about it. I told her it's just like playing with like adult size Legos. They only fit one way. there's manuals for every part that you get if you're really confused, if something doesn't click right away, if something doesn't make sense to you. There's always a manual that you can refer to get a better understanding of what this part does and how to use it, how to install it. So I find it very annoying where console gamers kind of shoot themselves in the foot and say that, you know, they're complex, because they're not. They're really not. The next argument I hear about this PC stereotypes is that people like the feeling of holding onto a controller as opposed to a keyboard and mouse. And this isn't really an argument, because this is entirely up to the user's preference. You know, if a console player has been playing on console for years, then obviously they're going to prefer a console. They're going to prefer a controller over a keyboard and mouse. It only makes sense because they're familiar with it, they've been using it for years, and the vice versa for PC players. You know, if they've been playing for years on a PC, they're obviously going to prefer a mouse and keyboard over a controller. You know, and this isn't really an argument, because it entirely depends on the user's preference. You know, it doesn't really demonstrate that controllers are objectively better than keyboard and mouse. It just tells you, okay, this guy likes controllers. I like the feeling of a controller, and that doesn't really hold water, you know. Now, if we're going to talk about which control input is the better one, I would say that the keyboard and mouse is. You know, the mouse offers superior precision in regards to FPS and aiming in general that you just can't get on the controller. With the keyboard, you have plenty of ways you can customize the controls on any of the games that you have, which is barely an option on the consoles, where most of the games only offer you either sensitivity changes or the option to invert the camera. I don't know about you, but I can jump and move my camera at the same time, where with a controller, where A or X is typically the button decided to jump, you would have to jump and then move the camera. It doesn't sound like much, but it makes a world of difference in certain games. And last but not least, the argument that games are optimized better for consoles than they are for PCs. Now, this one's kind of a weird one, because this isn't really the fault of anyone except the developers, you know? As a PC gamer, I certainly don't ever want to play... I never willingly want to play a shitty port of a game, you know? And I would imagine that the console players feel the same way. So this is more of an argument in regards to developers being lazy and not making a proper port for the PC, which happens quite often, not just on PC either. And this is like, if let's take the Batman Arkham Knight incident, for example. Obviously everybody knows there was a travesty of a PC port, but is that really the fault of the PC gamers? I certainly didn't want a shitty port. Now, here's the thing. This argument, I don't like using it, and I don't like hearing it, because it doesn't really target anyone in particular. Like, if we're having an argument about the PC and the console, and you use the argument that games are optimized better for consoles, that doesn't really affect me. You know, it affects the developers who make ports for the PC gamers. You know, my computer is going to run fine whether I receive a shitty port or not. However, the thing that we have, the kicker here, is that we can, with proper hardware and the ability to configure settings, we can mitigate how detrimental the PC port is. You know, if it's absolutely shitty, we'll just have to turn settings down or buy better hardware. But that's a band-aid solution to a ongoing problem. You know, developers should not get away with this kind of stuff. You know, they should be called out for every shitty port that they make. You know, a perfect example is Ubisoft. When Watch Dogs 1 came out, PC gamers immediately recognized how bad the port was, right? So there was a modder, I believe the name was The Worst, who released a mod, appropriately named The Worst Mod, which I guess re-enabled the graphic settings that Ubisoft used for the E3 presentation of Watch Dogs, and lo and behold, the game looks almost as good as the one that was shown on E3. And it sucks that we have to actually go, above and beyond the release of the game. We have to go to the INI files to make configuration settings to get this game to work as intended. But it is a problem that we don't have any control over, and consoles even more so. If they have a shitty port, if consoles get a shitty port of a game, they have to wait for a patch by those developers in order to play those games. We can at least try to fix it. And that's why I love the PC community so much, because we have this ability, this freedom to control the games that we get however we want. And this argument, it's awful. This argument is awful. So those are just some of the arguments that I hear against the PC in regards to PC stereotypes. And there's probably a bunch more out there, but these are the ones that I've been able to find. But if you have anything you'd like to say, just please let me know in the comments, and I will see you guys later. Thanks for watching.